Welcome back, Stuckies. This is Stuck Entertainment. This is AntDawg and Duron.
AntDawg.
Coming at you from Fresno, California. Want to welcome our special guest today is Fino.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, today's topic, the hidden norm. Now, we're going to talk, we named it this because, well, back in the day when the prophets said they used to hear voices in their head, they talked to angels, apparently, they talked to extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call it. They talked to people that weren't here with a body. Nowadays, when people say they talk to them, why are they considered 5150s? So what's the difference between 5150s and quote-unquote prophets or disciples? Fino, you're a special guest. What's your take on this right here?
Well, I don't really know too much about prophets and disciples. Okay. I just know that back in the day, mental health was a big issue amongst families and family images. So a lot of those things were hidden, you know, a lot of those things people didn't want to come out just because they were considered kind of like a bad reputation to the family. Like, we're going to cut you out because you're not normal, you know. So they wanted to, it wasn't a norm back then. It was just something that, oh, something's wrong with this person, let's hide it. That way our family stays, our family name, stays, you know, strong or clean, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And now, being that there's so much mental health out there, it's become a norm. You know, it's normal for somebody, and when I say normal, it's where it's coming out. People are actually seeking help. Mm-hmm. They're actually going out there and saying, "Look, I have this issue. I don't know why I have this issue, and I want to get to know what's going on with me." You know, okay. So I believe it's a positive and a negative because people could actually use it to their advantage and say, you know what, I'm crazy, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that, to get out of certain situations. As you know, people would do it a lot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when they're going to face time in prison, all of a sudden they want to say, you know, well, I'm 5150.
You've all seen that,
right? Yeah. And so now they get placed in a place where they're cared for. They're given medication. They're given proper food. Mm-hmm. Not that they're not given proper food in prison, but it's a whole lot different.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, you know.
I don't think they are.
Right. The situations are different. You know, they're not facing so much danger, and they're in a more comfortable facility. So it could be good and bad. The people that are doing it for the proper reasons, I feel, you know, all power goes to them because they're trying to overcome something. Now, back in the day, it wasn't like that. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, they hid these emotions or whatever they were feeling, and they even called them exorcisms. Okay. Like they had the devil inside them. You know, I've seen that. I've heard that amongst, you know, not to get too personal, but I've heard that amongst my own family. Yeah. So that was back in the day. I've heard stories. Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel now it's become a norm. Yeah. There's so many people out there that are just, you know what, I have an issue, let's figure it out.
Well, back in the day when I guess kids would come out mentally retarded, or there's a defect with the child, they would kill the child. They would, like Spartan days, the baby wasn't in perfect form, they would have to kill it. Yeah, they toss it out, almost like, you know, just, now that's kind of wrong nowadays, because I feel like nowadays we're more soft. Yeah. Back then, they were just, you're not right, you're going to fucking die, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, nowadays, we're trying to take care of it. But is that more, do you think that's more of like, do you think that's right? Do you think we should bring euthanization back into that with mental illnesses? Or do you think it's curable? Or do you think, is there a better way to deal with it nowadays? Because back then, that's how they dealt with it. And I think it worked pretty good. Obviously, it was wrong. Mm-hmm. But it worked pretty good.
Right. So even if we could bring that type of lifestyle back,
euthanization.
Yeah, I don't believe that there's any law or anything like that that would allow that for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, to a certain sense, you are right. You know, certain people that have kids that are you know, have mental retardation sometimes wish, you know what, I had the opportunity to know about it before it came, which now you can. Mm-hmm. Now there's certain studies you can do where you can diagnose that prior to the child even being, you know, 7 months into pregnancy. You know, yeah. So they do have a choice now, but I think it's just human nature to say, you know what, I'm going to care for this child. They don't have the heart to do it, but now you do have that choice, and if you choose not to have the baby, then just own it. You know, it's not a form. It's not such a gruesome form of euthanization as you're saying.
Yeah.
But you still have that choice, and if you don't want that child to come to fruition, to life, then you know what? Take the opportunity that they do give you, and if you're gonna think it's a hassle, because there's people that say, you know what, I'm tired of this when they have a family, that certain child is not so much there. I have a friend that has a brother. Fortunately, he's high functioning. He's not a low functioning. I guess you could say mental retardation.
Yeah.
He's developmentally disabled, but he's a little bit of a high functioning developmentally disabled person, but he does do things that are out of norm, and what we consider out of norm isn't really out of norm. It's just different, because a lot of people come with oh, that's not normal, but what is normal?
Exactly. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, what is normal now? Why?
It just depends on the society, man.
Yeah. Well, what do you think on this topic? Let's go to you now. Well, what's your take on this whole thing right here?
I believe there are some people with mental illnesses and they do need help. I think there's a slim portion of them who do say that God's speaking to them. I believe God actually is speaking to them.
You do?
Yeah, I believe so.
Obviously not the ones that are on drugs and stuff.
Drugs,
They're just true psychs. We call them true psychs in our field.
Yeah, true psychs.
But not to interrupt, but what if drugs have a way of opening certain people up to see that, to be able to speak to God,
like shrooms,
psychedelics, right? Yeah. People, especially people that have just done it for the first time. You have those people that have never tried a certain drug. They try the drug for the first time, and then all of a sudden, oh, I spoke to God. I have a friend that was a Marine, smoking weed all day, every day, and he was atheist and everything. One day he got high, and all of a sudden he said he spoke to God that night. Yeah. He spoke to God, and he dropped marijuana. He dropped all bad habits, and he's doing really well now. Yeah. All because he said he spoke to God, and everybody else judged him as crazy. You can't do that. Nah, that can't happen. Yeah. Well, how do you know? He's one individual going through whatever he's going through right now. Now, how do we know that certain drugs or certain people that do drugs don't see or hear reality? To us it's not real, but to them it's very real.
Yeah.
So it just
What's your take on that?
Mine, I have a story actually from experience. I'm not gonna mention who, but I know this woman. One day she said she was in the bathtub, right? And this woman, she wasn't living a great lifestyle. She was doing drugs, like you said. And one day she said she was in the bathtub, and a light came, and she said it was God. And God told her to get her life back on track. And when she did that, she became a Christian. She stopped doing drugs very often. Yep. And yeah, man, I think it's possible. Like God will come and He will speak to you.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think you need drugs to do that, or do you think people have ways of just connecting with God? Because there's some people who are true psychs, like I said, who just hear voices. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll ask you on this one. I'll get back to you with it. What do you think that is? Do you think they're truly psychotic, or do you think they put them on 5150 holds to quarantine the people like that so they don't let the truth out?
Yeah, to stop another disciple.
Exactly.
Another Messiah.
Exactly. Maybe. Yeah. Well, not saying they're messiahs, but there's only one. Well, there's only one Messiah as far as we know. We think. We never know. But do you think they're stopping it from the second coming? They're trying to stop the second coming because we live in such an evil world. These evil people want longer times on this earth before the second coming does come, and they're all in hell. Yeah. So, not to get all religious on it about it, but that is how it's working. So, do you think they're trying to quarantine these quote unquote 5150's, calling them that, labeling them, like we look at them with disgust, not us, but people in general see them as disgusting. Like, oh, these people are bad, they're devilish, they think they're talking to people in their heads. Now, what if they quarantine them because of that reason?
Now, who's quarantining?
The government, us, police, law enforcement.
That's why they
the laws.
Term 5150.
Yeah. So I'll go back to you with this. What do you think? Do you think that's the case, or do you think these people really need to be getting help?
I mean, when it comes to 5150's and when it comes to mental health, I believe there's always, when it's a real case, now I'm not talking about those that are self-medicating with methamphetamine or drugs, but even those are real. It's just the way they do it is self-medicate with drugs.
Yeah.
Now, for those that are real and they do have problems, you know, all that came from some type of natural, you know, occurrence in their life that just didn't go right. Whether it had been that they lost a child, a crash, something that happened that
like woke them.
Yeah, not, you know, woke them or gave them a chemical imbalance to where they couldn't take it anymore. Gave them anxiety, whatever it may be that they went through to get to where they're at. Those people, I feel, need help. Now they do have people like things like Area 51. Is it Area 51? I believe.
Yeah,
it is,
Area
right?
51.
Area 51, where they're hiding certain things. They're hiding a lot of secrecy. We can't get around that. There's nothing that they can explain to us that's not gonna keep us believing that they're hiding something, right?
That was on our last podcast. Not to cut you off. We actually talked about that on the Do
Hey.
Aliens Exist podcast. So go
Check
ahead
it out,
and
guys.
watch that video, like and subscribe. But we did talk about that on our last one too. And
you know, so
what if they're hiding those kind of properties?
Right.
What if they're hiding?
So those things are you know, they very can they can be hiding those things, but when it comes to 5150s, it's so hard to tell just because you don't ever know what a person's been through to get to the situation that they're in. Whether they're self-medicating or not, sometimes it's hard for them to cope. Now, you do have those people that, you know what, they take it a little bit too excessive. They're doing drugs just because they want somebody to blame. Like, they don't want to blame themselves. They want someone else to blame. Well, I'm doing drugs because of you, whereas in the case, it was all them.
Yeah,
you know?
Everything's self-inflicting.
Exactly.
They're not responsible enough to take that type of blame for some reason.
Right. So, so that's my take on it. My take on it is that they can be hiding it, but what is there to hide when an individual is doing it to themselves? You know, you can quarantine them all you want, but no matter what, there's mental health everywhere. I think they're hiding more or less things that are like weapons, like people that they can use, things that they can use as weaponry to help influence. Like for example, TV. You know, there's the old saying where TV manipulates you, gets you to thinking different things, and you know, things like that. They send messages through there. That's
subliminal
what I
messages.
Yeah, subliminal messages
too, and all that.
But as far as 5150s, I just believe that's tragedy. You know, that's mental illness that led them to do something that, you know, they didn't have control over. So that's why I'm saying, back in the day, they didn't have a way to classify that. Back in the day, they said, "Oh, well, no, he's just a murderer." You know, the studies they've done is now that they didn't have back then is they can pretty much diagnose a murderer when he's an infant, just by the way the child acts towards, you know, the mother or towards different things. You know, whether it be killing animals or hurting animals. So, you know, I don't think you can hide that. I think that's just human nature.
What about that guy, John? Sorry to interrupt you, but Jim Jones.
Jim Jones.
Yeah, the cult massacre of Jonestown. He was the largest American massacre compared to 9/11. Those 900 plus Americans were killed.
By cyanide.
Yeah, by cyanide.
What was the reason for it?
The reason was the leader. He was a narcissistic. No, he was a normal. He seemed normal. Some white guy from San Francisco. He started like a new chapter. He took people to South Africa, and there was 900 Americans he took with him. He started with the children first. He had them drink a punch that was laced with cyanide. Started with the children, worked their way with the women, men, and elder. All of them died except for him, and at the end, he ended up blowing his brains out. He was just preaching the Lord. You know, he was a reverend.
He was a reverend.
He was a reverend.
So he spoke the word and lured them in. And you know, I mean, when you think about that and you think about what Charles Manson did, isn't it kind of the same?
Yeah.
Right? Charles Manson got people to kill for him. He preached whatever he preached. This guy just so happened to be preaching the Lord. But Charles Manson, he had a big like disability in his head. You know, he wanted, and he got many women to do things for him. You know, so that being said, like, you never know who out there has that form of disability to kill, to commit massacres, like you said.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't believe it's hidden. I just believe they're trying to control the population that's coming out with the fact that they have mental illnesses. They're trying to classify it as 5150's and trying to say, you know what, we can fix it. When there's no fixing it. There's no fixing how you feel and how you get over your emotions. That's only you.
So let me ask you this, both of you guys this. If that's how we feel, why don't they let them be? Why do they call it a disability? What if that's just them? Like, for instance, I don't mean to branch off, but like, for instance, I have a strong feeling when parents take their sons, it's majority boys. Mm-hmm. Boys are, when they're younger, kind of wild. We like to, be rough and crazy. Nowadays, though, they want to take them to the doctor and they ADHD. Let's put them on this. Let's put them on that. Let's calm them down. But that's not how boys are. I don't agree with that. Now let's bring it back to the 5150's. What if that's just how people are? Not the ones that are all methed out, but the ones that are truly hearing voices. Like, what if that's just the way they are? It's just the way they feel. So is it really a disability, or is it considered, do we just put it out there like this is not right? You know what I mean?
Rug,
Yeah, sweep it under the rug. Not sweep it under the rug. Let's put them on a hold and quarantine them, or let's not quarantine them.
They're not socially accepted.
They're not socially accepted. Yeah. So why? Why do we call it a disability? What if it's actually regular? We're supposed to be like this. Because back in the day, before agriculture happened, we were hunter-gatherers.
Right.
We lived in our own tribes, and anyone else come in our land, we kill them. You know what I mean? And this has nothing to do with mental health, but it's like nowadays we're all one, we're colonized. Now we think we know what's right and what's wrong, who's normal, who's not.
Now, when you say it like that, now I think that that's something that can be manipulated by the government.
Yeah.
You know, take these kids that are, because I don't know if you heard this, but autistic kids are some of the smartest kids out there.
Yes, they are. Absolutely,
kids with Asperger's have unique characteristics that not all of us have.
Yes. They see things from a whole different perspective that we will never.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Asperger's have no emotion. They don't feel. I mean, not that they don't have no emotion, but their emotions are harder to transpire through them.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be something that they can have control. They're trying to control that type of population just so that they can say, look, your child is ADHD, therefore he or she has to be on this medication forever, when they know very well that person, that child, could someday change what they're trying to do. They can be someone and grow to be someone, but the medication has them loopy.
It's taming them.
Yeah, it's
like
keeping
you're
them
taming the wild animal that shouldn't be tamed. Not that they're wild, but it's like lions and any animal that's tamed in the zoo shouldn't be there. They're supposed to be in the wild, just like us. They're trying to tame us with medication. That's why
they don't want to change.
Exactly. I go back to the ADHD thing. Why are we doing that? Why are they doing this? I understand the ones that are on drugs, but they need a different kind of help. I feel like it's more, let's get them into rehab. Let's get them off drugs, and then see if they hear those voices, and then see if they have these psychedelic experiences of talking to people. Let's do that instead. But, obviously, take it with a grain of salt. We're not psychiatrists.
Not doctors.
We're not a doctor. We're just, speak truth, understand common knowledge. We're just trying to understand things here. So let me ask this. What about them self-medicating for the voices in their head? I'm going to ask you this, AntDawg. Why do you think they self-medicate when they hear the voices? Are they scared of the voices?
Scared what people are going to think.
What people are going to think.
Yeah, what if you
because they're outcast to us.
Yeah. You're hearing voices. You're going to want to go and tell people? No, you're going to be like, fuck. They're going to think I'm crazy.
They're going to think I'm crazy.
You're not going to know what to do with this, so obviously you're going to self-medicate, but I don't want to hear it no more. I want it to go away. So you're going to self-medicate so you don't think about it anymore.
Yeah. And maybe we need to inspire people to just be themselves. Like, we all hear something in our head. It's our subconscious, it's our soul, whatever you want to call it. We have something in our head when we're not talking that is talking to us, telling us, is that a voice? Are we all like that? But they're trying to contain it so we don't ascend higher than they want us to. The government control, population control. Are they trying to stop us from thinking?
That's what they're trying
ascending
to do.
by medicating all these people. Awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, the 1%, obviously, in this world, the richest of the rich that are pulling all the little strings that control everything, they're ascended. They don't want us to reach their level because then we're going to take what's theirs, apparently. The money, the world.
Control the population, that's what they're all about.
Yeah, population.
And I mean, there's been rumors where they've been trying to control the population, trying to not purposely. I can't say purposely kill people because I don't know.
No. Yeah.
But there's been rumors that that's something they've tried to do before.
Well, you can look at instances like the Las Vegas shooting.
Mm-hmm.
There's always conspiracies around mass murders.
Right.
Do you think the government planned it? Do you think this is population control? Do you think the Twin Towers, was that an inside job, but they needed someone to blame, so they went to Osama bin Laden for it? You know what I mean? Or did they need a reason to go over there to fight for oil? But there's always something going on.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about this topic, because what if we're doing this to the people that we need to listen to so we can ascend with them, so we can hear the voice of God, of aliens, something extraterrestrial, to ascend, to think, to expand our minds. So we're not in this little, we're like in our own little prison, I feel like.
Yeah.
We're in our own little prison. We're not in there obviously physically, but mentally we all are. Like, I have things in my mind I don't think I can do. We can do whatever we want. I know that now. We can put our mind to it. We can do it. Just like this podcast. A year ago, I would have never thought we'd be doing a podcast. But I started doing more meditation. I started getting more into my spiritual side. I started, reading the Word even. I started doing different things. I changed my lifestyle around to ascend.
To get closer to God.
To get closer to God, or whatever is up there that our